Um, just a note for the public, at this time, the Claims Committee is delayed in starting. We're waiting for a few council members to come in. Thank you. All right, good evening. Welcome to the June 3rd Claims Committee meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk, would you please call a roll?
Council Vice President Vargas, Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Haroyan.
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas, Councilman Wall,
Here.
Council President Marino.
Present.
All right, next public comment. This will be public comment on docketed items only. If anybody does have public comment this evening for the Claims Committee meeting, please step up to the podium. There being none, is there anyone for public comment online?
There is no public comment.
This is just for the Claims Committee. I'm sorry, we're trying to make it ready for the next meeting, so that's why I was so quick. This is just for the Claims Committee. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A2. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Clerk, would you please call a roll?
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haroyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Wall,
Yes,
Council President.
we're in executive session. All right, we're gonna return to open session. Let me just state for the record that there were votes taken during executive session. This time I'll entertain a motion to seal the executive session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if there were votes taken, generally you have to report out what votes were taken, if there were votes to refer claims or to pay claims.
And perhaps I should step up because I do have a little bit of confusion because the last time we did it, excuse me one second.
Oh, damn, it's gonna be.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the May 6th regular meeting.
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion means closed.
This time, I'd like to call the Safety Services and Licenses Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please take a roll.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Present.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas, Councilman Wall,
Here.
Council Vice President Vargas, Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Council President Marino.
Present.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 6th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to open up public comment. Just to explain, if there's anyone in council chambers or on Zoom that would like to make a public comment on any item that's on the agenda for the Safety Services meeting, you need to step up to the podium, press the button, make sure the green light is on, and you can public comment for up to 3 minutes. And we need to make sure that we stay on topic of what's on the agenda. So at this time, if you could state your name and address for the record. And please speak directly into the microphone.
Hi, Barry Brothers, 34 Delway Road, Cranston. I'm here to make a few comments on, I don't know if it's happening or we're hearing a lot of rumors about a proposed dispensary at the corner of Delway and Reservoir Avenue. And we're only catching wind of this in the last couple of weeks. The neighborhood's, a little bit, we got a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. Mainly being it's such a residential neighborhood and such a busy street, Delway. It's already hard enough to pull out of that street onto Reservoir. And I just think with the addition of the traffic flow that's going to be added to that neighborhood, it's going to be very difficult as far as the traffic flow. And also, I believe that if that license is granted, it's going to adversely affect property values in that neighborhood. That's my belief anyways, unless somebody can tell me differently. Also, there's, I think there's a parking issue back there. Half the parking lot's collapsing into the adjacent property. And I mean, I know how much parking is on paper, but there's really not that much parking back there unless they make some drastic construction back there to the collapsing of the parking lot. And, that's it. Mainly the traffic and the tax situation, you know, what's it gonna do to our, property values? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to make public comment?
Hi, Kathleen Parada, 19 Delaware Road. I've been living there since 1993. I lived through the Pizza Hut situation where we would call the police regularly from all the people who I'm representing within our street. Anyway, we have been dealing with so much traffic going down that street with a retail store being there or some kind of a restaurant. Anyway, there's been a sign there that says do not turn right, but everyone ignores it and they do continue to do it. Our street is very narrow. I spoke to Jason Pizzullo. He said, oh, the street is not that, it's not that bad. It's okay. This past weekend, we had an open house. We had somebody move in. There were people parked on both sides of the street. People could barely get through, correct? Anyway, so I'm mostly concerned about the fear of my value of my property going down. Has anyone done any kind of, you know, planning to see how that will affect us? I know that there are people in Ward 3 in Garden City. They are like us. They're afraid and they don't want something like that in our area. We all propose, hey, why don't you put it over on Pontiac Avenue where there's commercial? It needs to be in a commercial area. Yes, we live in a kind of commercial and retail area, but it is mostly residential, and our big concerns are property value. Will it bring in more crime? Will it cause us higher traffic on our street and make it difficult for families who have little ones that are playing in the area? Will it cause do harm in terms of like the Pecasset River and what is, you know, in that area, it's all like, environmental. Will there be, I understand there will be guards there, but they're guarding their assets. They're not guarding like what's going on around us in terms of, will they be buying their, this stuff and then sitting in the property in the parking lot and smoking it and staying and hanging around? Will it bring in more people from out of the area and, make it difficult for all of us? Anyway, those are some of the concerns that I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Hi, good evening. My name's Sarah DiCataldo. I live at 37 Delway Road. I have a short statement and a list of 15 questions for you all. So thank you to our representative, Kristen Haronian, for arranging this opportunity for us to speak, something that probably should have happened months ago. I've lived on Delway Road for 11 years, and I was born and raised in Cranston. I have many concerns about the approved dispensary at 1112 Reservoir Avenue, but today I'm going to highlight my two most pressing concerns. Number one, the underestimation of the impact that will have on traffic and pedestrian safety at one of the busiest sections of Reservoir Avenue, and the lack of communication by the developers and our city officials to the surrounding neighbors. I believe the proposed plan is woefully unprepared for the influx of car and foot traffic once a dispensary is opened. The convenience of a dispensary on Reservoir Avenue with the bus stop feet away, I believe will attract more patrons than estimated, bringing more cars driving and parking up and down Delway Road, driving onto and across Reservoir Avenue, and more foot traffic crossing the top of Delway Road and Reservoir Avenue, all of which will increase the probability of car accidents and pedestrian accidents. I urge the developers and our city officials to do their due diligence in ensuring the safety of residents, patrons, and employees alike. At this point, I don't believe they have. This brings me to my second and my greatest concern, the lack of notification and communication to the neighbors. Had we been notified and communicated with, we could have shared our concerns with all of the developers. We could have alerted you about the uniqueness of Delway Road, such as the flooding that frequently happens at the top of the street, and it happened twice last week. And the number of times that delivery trucks, school buses, and fire trucks have not been able to make it down our street when cars are parked on both sides. In fact, a number of years ago, a fire truck had to drive down and hit a number of cars because he couldn't safely get through to an emergency at the end of Delway Road. So we could have helped develop a better plan, made recommendations. And so now I have a list of questions. I understand that you don't have to answer them, but I would like to put them on the record. Number one.
Ma'am, we are not allowed to answer any questions at
Okay.
this time, just so you, it's not that we don't want to answer them. We're not allowed to answer them.
Not a problem. I would
Thank
just
you.
love to put them on the record.
Right.
Thanks. Why did Stanley Piquel recuse himself? Can we review the site plans presented by Eric Zwena at the 1/17/24 hearing? Has a final site plan been approved? And if yes, can we review that final site plan? How did Derek Hug of Perry Corporation arrive at the trip generation estimates? What was the security detail information provided by Louis Stravato at the 1/17/24 hearing? What were the outreach initiatives conducted and described by Lysandra Pontarelli at the 1/17/24 hearing? How was the petition, which was described by Attorney Morris Salvatore at the 1/17/24 hearing, distributed to the neighborhood, and how were the 5 signatures obtained? What is the plan for employee parking? Has the site for the 15 to 20 at-one-time employees been identified? Has an environmental review of the site been conducted? Has DEM assessed any potential impacts on the surrounding environment, including the Pecasset River that runs alongside the proposed site? Has a safety study been conducted or a review of neighborhood safety for other dispensaries in similar areas to assess how neighborhood safety may be impacted? Has a traffic study been conducted, or has a review of other dispensaries in similar areas been conducted to assess the impact traffic may have? Will anything be done by the city to ensure the prevention of speeding down Delway Road? Will anything be done by the city to prevent cars from parking on both sides of the street at the same time to ensure that emergency vehicles can always safely access and drive down Delway Road? And finally, what is the plan to ensure that patrons will be able to safely leave the parking lot when the top of Delway Road floods during a heavy rain? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to make public comment?
Comment to the resident, I live at 57.
Name and address for the record.
Peter D. Simone, 57 Delway. I've been living there for 33 years. The reason why we get a lot of traffic down our road is they can't make the turn at Aqueduct. So we do get the fire trucks, the ambulances, Amazon daily, FedEx 2, 3, 4 times a day. If they're parking on both sides of the street, they're not going to make the turn either. Question. If the dispensary can't be within 1,000 feet of a school, why can it be 15 feet from a residential house with children? The first house that abuts, she runs a daycare. So we simply put, we don't want it here. There's a location that you can entertain, and I think you should work with the developers. The corner of Wellington and Elmwood, abuts an industrial. It's the old IHOP. You could call it the Weed Chalet.
Hi, Marlenis Peralta. Marlenis Peralta, 351 Aqueduct Road. So definitely I think that everyone here agree about safety, traffic. I have really concerned because I have 2 of my children, they have health issues, and I don't want strange people smoking in the streets around. And also, I have concerns about property taxes, and yeah, strangers walking around. I know that is a residential neighborhood, and there is children walking back home, and we don't feel secure. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to make public comment on any docketed item? name and address for the record, please, and speak, you can raise the microphone up a little bit. Thank you.
I'm Mr. Branca, B-R-A-N-C-A, 20 Delway Road, Lewis. Yeah, all I can say is we're obviously all.
Sir,
dismayed.
please speak loudly into the microphone. Thank
Right,
you.
We're all dismayed about what's going on and what we've just recently found out. And the only question I would really ask is, I mean, if you lived in that neighborhood and your children played in that neighborhood and rode their bikes up and down that street, would you honestly want a dispensary in your neighborhood? And if not, then why should it be in ours? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to make public comment on any docketed item?
Kathy Giardino, 42 Delway Road. So I'm basically going to say the same thing that everybody else has been saying, and that's the traffic on Delway Road. I walk my dog almost every day, and the cars come down the road. Some of them are going at 25 miles an hour. Others are going 40 miles an hour. I can't walk on the sidewalk because not everybody has a sidewalk. So it's very dangerous. I'm wondering why, if we have to have it at that site, can something be done to stop the traffic, stop people from cutting through Delway Road? Do not enter sign, right turn only sign coming out of the parking lot, although a lot of people turn left, turn right anyway. And basically that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deborah Scott, 59 Delway Road. To reiterate what my neighbors have said about traffic safety, conducting a survey and monitoring the activity of the patrons that go to other dispensaries and what that does to those areas currently. A dispensary in your neighborhood, would you want that? There is already a no right turn sign out of the Delway exit of that location, and it's not adhered to, as another neighbor had pointed out. Kathy, thank you. And so bottom line and property devaluation is this type of business is not conducive to a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to make public comment on any docketed item? At this time, I would like to close. Oh, I'm sorry. Tom, is there anyone on Zoom?
There is no public comment.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to close public comment. And just to explain to those of you that are here, later in the meeting, we will have a discussion on this. We're not allowed to discuss it right now. Okay, just so you know. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have two show causes. Is there anybody here from Rainbow Water? Okay, looks like we've had some progress and that the taxes were paid on 5/13/24 and a new application was filled out on, is that correct, Rose?
That's correct.
I need a motion to continue this.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Haroyan? Councilman Donegan? Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Okay, next we have Sophie Sweets. I would like to turn this over to Solicitor Vadecchia at this time.
Thank you, Chairman. So as everyone here knows, this matter has been continued since at least February. We have served several cease and desist notices We have show caused them. Essentially, what it comes down to is this business owner is essentially ignoring the mandates of this committee, as well as the requirements, which are attendant to a business license. So unfortunately, our ordinances do not have an enforcement mechanism per se, and the municipal court really doesn't have jurisdiction over this type of issue. So I have received the authority from Solicitor Malay to take the next step, which would be a Superior Court action and a preliminary injunction, essentially asking the court to restrain and enjoin this business owner from operating the business unless and until they comply with all city requirements, including the payment of past due taxes and any other fees that may be due and owing. So action is going to be taken on that, but it has to be through the Superior Court.
Thank you. Would you recommend that we continue this?
I would recommend, if you continue this, I would go out. I might suggest that you go out 2 months on this, go out 60 days.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to continue this for 60 days?
Motion to continue this for 60 days.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
Okay, next we have committee business matters carried over. First item is a Class BV liquor license transfer from Cafe Eatery to Cafe Lafredo. Is there anybody here from that establishment? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record. And
My name is Phil Kraska, 72 Ridgeway, Phil Kraska. Kraska. Address, 72 Ridgeway. You're welcome.
you want to explain the entire situation to us in a nutshell?
Yeah, currently all we're looking to do is just transfer the liquor license over from Cafe Eatery, DBA Cafe Eatery to Cafe Lafredo or DBA Cafe Eatery. We're just purchasing the business from them and transferring it over.
Okay, Madam Clerk, so all paperwork is in order at this time?
Yes, they are.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion, I'm sorry. Second.
Any discussion or questions for the applicant from the committee or the council? No discussion, no. Council President.
Sorry, that's okay. I can see that. Thank you. I just had some questions. The hours of operation Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. as was being requested. Is that what you're actually going to do? That just seems like a very early start and a very late start for 7 days a week.
So basically, that's what the liquor license, because when I spoke to Brittany about it, that's what the liquor license will allow. We're not changing the hours or anything like that, but we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves into like, you can only do 5 p.m. to 11, you know what I mean? So that application was basically put in as what the maximum would allow.
Okay, but you're not seeking to be serving or opening at 6 a.m., right? Okay, what are the general hours of operation that you're seeking?
Currently, right now, we're open 4 p.m. till like 10 p.m., like maximum right now.
Any other questions or discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes,
Council President Reno.
Yes.
you're all set.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have a Class BV liquor license transfer, Royal Buffet and Grill to Royal Buffet Cranston. Is there anyone here from that establishment at this time? No one's here. Okay. As of 5:30, the certificate of liability insurance was received to the city, if you guys are looking at the agenda. And the release from Horizon Beverage was received. We have not received the Rhode Island Division of Taxation letter of good standing. And on the victualling license, we still have not received the Rhode Island Department of Health license. I'd like to have a motion to continue this.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on this.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
Okay, next item is a victualling license new for Kizakula. We have not had a clearance on city tangible taxes. Is there anybody here from Kizakula? So Madam Clerk, we don't have the clearance on tangible taxes?
Not as of today.
I'd like to have a motion to continue this.
Motion to continue.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
The next item is the victualling license for Royal Buffet. I'd like the motion to continue that. Do I have a second? Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on continuing that.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan. Yes. Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
Okay, next is new matters before the committee. The first is a septic hauler's license for the town of Coventry. Is anybody here from the town of Coventry? I think it's the town manager. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dan Perillo, Town of Coventry. Good evening, Chairman Ferry, Council President Marino, members of the Safety Services Committee. I have a small problem currently. So the high school septic system in Coventry is no longer functioning. So I am pumping septage every day at a cost of $1,750 per day. We're currently at $500,000. So the plan is to build a new sewer system for $4.2 million that we're getting some congressional money for, but that's going to be another year and a half. So I decided to purchase my own truck and to process my own septage. Unfortunately, I was advised by DEM that I cannot dump that septage into my own pump station and that I had to use either Cranston or Warwick to dump that. So my application is in with Cranston in order to dump my septage into your Cranston system.
Interesting.
Yes, it is. To say the
I was
least.
trying to figure out why you were here tonight.
That is why.
Very interesting. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion from the committee to the applicant?
I will just say this, that's a terrible situation. However, there can be some humor found in that, but I will reserve my jokes. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? We sympathize with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
Okay, I guess you're all set. Did you buy a new truck? Woo. Okay, next we have a victualling license for Psalms 138. Is there anybody here from Psalms 138? If you could state your name and address for the record, please. Okay, I see on here that there's an outstanding item still, the Rhode Island Department of Health license.
For the Department of Health, right? We contacted them. They're just waiting for an inspection date because they're a little booked.
So you have not got a date from them yet?
No, but all applications are filled out already.
And what are your plans to open?
As soon as it's approved.
So you have not opened yet and you're waiting for them and that's the only thing left. Madam Clerk, could you verify that that's the only thing they're waiting for?
Yes, just a health approval.
When did you contact them?
The last time I contacted them was last week on, Friday.
Are you pretty confident that you're ready to pass that?
Yeah, it's been a couple months already.
Oh, we're gonna maybe do a motion first. Can I have a motion to approve? We can have a discussion on this.
Motion to approve.
Second for discussion.
Any discussion or questions for the applicant?
I'm saying, I'm not going to be in favor tonight of approving the license. The inspection needs to be conducted by the health department. I would love to see you open. That is a requirement and I would feel very irresponsible in approving that. And that's pretty much the standard I think that we've taken previously as a committee in the past.
Any other discussion or questions for the applicant?
Could you tell us a little bit about the business, what you will be doing there?
It's a restaurant, a family, friendly restaurant that we plan to open with a fusion of, Mexican food and sushi. Mhm.
Anyone else? Usually we can't approve a license unless everything is done. Okay, if by any chance they were to come tomorrow and inspect you and give you the certificate, we could perhaps have a special meeting before we have another meeting later in the month. But otherwise, we're kind of like forced to let this go until next month.
Okay. Yeah, that was my concern because because it's already been a couple weeks, that I filled out the application and they said it could take about 2 to 3 weeks. But I still haven't gotten an inspection date yet, and I didn't want to wait until like next month, just in case they were to come sooner.
Yeah, like I said, if they were to come almost immediately, we have meetings every other week.
Okay.
And we could schedule a meeting and just do a 5-minute vote on it.
Okay.
But if they don't come for 2 or 3 weeks, then you'll just have to wait till the next meeting. Does anybody have the date for the next meeting? It's
June 13th.
it's not,
June 13th.
June 13th is the
Okay.
next.
Okay.
No, that's the next meeting we have as far as in chambers. The next safety services meeting is July. Hold on a second. The next safety services meeting would be July. First
Okay.
would be our next regular safety services meeting, but we do have a meeting next Thursday, 2 other meetings, and we could have a special meeting if you were to get them in and get the certificate.
Okay.
All righty?
Okay.
So we did have a motion to approve this, right? I need the motion withdrawn.
Withdraw my motion to approve.
Do I have a
Withdraw the
motion to
second.
continue?
Motion to continue.
Second.
Any discussion on continuing this? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on continuing this.
Councilman Haroyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
So you understand that if they come, contact the clerk's office immediately.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay, next we have no report from the traffic engineer, no report from the police department, no report from the fire department. Next, we have license renewals before the committee. Additional victualling hours. Okay, first is Cumberland Farms located at 659 Reservoir Avenue. Is there anybody here from Cumberland Farms? I'm sorry, Councilman Donegan?
I was just saying that these are renewals.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to Attorney Videcchia, can I take this whole number 12 as a block? No,
We usually, well,
up to Valari Motors?
I was going to suggest take it as a block up until mobile food establishments. So page 4. So do page 4, down through firearms dealer license as a block.
Including firearms?
Yes. And then we'll take mobile food, parade, and victualling one at a time.
Okay, so do I have a motion to take the licenses from Cumberland Farms through Econo Loads as a block?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve that block?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Donegan?
Thank you, Chairman. Real quick, I just want to acknowledge that the farmer's market at the Bain Track is going to be starting up in a few weeks, and the structure is on here for the license renewal for that this evening. I hope, and it sounds like that's going to receive unanimous passage, as it's always received support from the committee and the community, and that's a great opportunity for people to support local farmers, get local produce for free, and help build community. So I hope to see people there starting on Thursdays in a few weeks.
Thank you. Any other discussion on approving the block? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Okay, next we have license renewals, mobile food establishments. I'd like to have a motion to take the mobile food establishments as a block.
Motion to take the mobile food establishment as a block.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilwoman Horoyan? Councilman Donegan? Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve that block?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that block.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Next we have a parade license for the Santa Maria de Prada Society located at 29 Walnut Grove Avenue. Would be following their feast that weekend. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion?
Just, if I could, just note the Scrivener's error of there is no 7th.
Oh, yeah, that 7 was probably supposed to be comma. I think 7's right over comma, whatever. But yeah, the and sign. I think 7 is right over the and sign. So that's what it said. Anyways, did we vote? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Okay, next we have a victualling license for CCAP, 1 Cranston Health Equity Zone Farmers Market, which Councilman Donegan just threw a plug in for. Do I have a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Next, we have a victualling license for Rainbow Fusion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
May I have a motion to enter the roads on the Patuxent schedule into the record?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Okay, moving right along. Next, we have council communications. Councilwoman Horoyan, you have 2 items on the agenda tonight. If you want to take the floor, it's yours.
I also made some copies, well, the clerk did, of the Development Plan Review Committee meetings that is being discussed in a lot of emails and how most of the constituents learned about this proposed retail cannabis site. I wrote something down. Prior to serving on the city council, some activity on the proposed site at 1112 Reservoir Avenue and the process went before the development plan review, which is no part of the council, nor is there any notice. Was the approval that again on the development plan committee. And in the minutes, many people, including myself, had the question, why City Inspector Stanley Rochelle recused himself. And then he gave a statement, he was told to recuse himself by a solicitor and no discussion. Upon doing some research, it is noted that he did not fill out a recusal form with the Ethics Committee nor turn one in. Solicitor Vadecchio, would you know the answer to that? Why he recused himself and there was no recusal form?
I have no idea. That the planning commission at that level, Solicitor Marcella handles the legal position for the planning commission. He was there. I spoke to him briefly before tonight's meeting. So those questions would need to be directed to him because neither myself, Solicitor Malay, or any other solicitor besides Solicitor Marcella would be able to answer that question.
Could I ask some more?
Councilwoman Horan, you've got to keep your finger on that microphone or it's not going to record.
Let me think of the best one here. Per that passing approval before that committee, there was a parking issue and they had decided upon parking for employees. The site has a limited 15 to 20 spots, and that's how many employees have been identified to be on duty when they're open.
We need to, if we could just take a step backward because I'm a little bit confused here. Your 2 bullet points say discussion of proposed recreational cannabis dispensary at 1112 Reservoir Avenue.
Yes,
I assume what you're referring to is recreational sales.
Yes,
not a
retail
dispensary,
sales.
Retail sales. The first comment I would have to make is I'm not aware of any sort of approval being granted for retail sales of marijuana at that particular location.
there has been none granted. No
Right.
application has
Okay.
even been turned in, nor is the state accepting applications.
Correct, because to my knowledge, the state hasn't even enacted regulations yet. So this is something that is very speculative at this point. I know there have been rumors and I know people hear things, but at this juncture, there simply is no hard evidence that anything is going there other than, I believe, and I could be wrong, they pulled at one point a retail sales license. That's as far as that establishment has gone, to my knowledge. So no one can say whether or not a retail establishment is going there or it's not going there. So this, as I said, this is basically all conjecture at this point.
Chairman, may I also say something else?
Certainly.
I was able to get in touch with the State Cannabis Commission today. They told me the Cannabis Act passed in 2022. That is allowed use of legal cannabis in the state of Rhode Island. The state of Rhode Island will only be able to have 24 licenses for the entire state of Rhode Island. Distributing, they did zones, and each zone is allowed to have so many retail licenses. A retail license states you cannot grow on that area. It can only be retail. We are zoned as Cranston with East Greenwich, Warwick, North Kingston. within those 4 cities and towns, there will only be 4 retail sites in that whole group there. Town of East Greenwich voted not to allow any cannabis retail in their entire town. Okay, so they're out of it. So that leaves Warwick, North Kingston, and Cranston. This all took place before I was on council, and council was never made aware of it because it was before the planning board. So we did not have a vote, a say. I found out about this from the constituents coming to me, asking me questions and trying to do the work and the research for the community. This is also considered my neighborhood. So I'm very invested in this. No application is in the process or in the process being to the state right now. The state is not accepting applications at this time. Cannabis Control Commission is only in the process of drafting the application process and what needs to be on the application. So an application process is not even done yet. So they can't even apply. There has to be an application available for the group to even apply to. And at this time, that's not even a situation we have in the state of Rhode Island. Could that change in 8 months, a year, 2 years? It will change and they will accept. In the future, for the application to be accepted after it's drawn out, the city, the town, municipality, and zoning all have to agree on the application before the state will even accept it. And then hopefully at that point, we will have something in where council and the city would have to agree on it. A lot of the other questions were in regards to traffic, safety, values of houses. I don't think we need to go into them all right now. I do have all the emails. I am willing to ask them all to be submitted into the record to what I have asked, if that is a possibility.
I'm sorry, please repeat that.
The questions I have, could they be
You want
into the
to,
record?
you want to put them into record?
Yes. Give them
Do I
to.
have a motion?
Yes.
Motion to put the questions into record?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Okay. All right, does anyone else have any comments on Councilwoman Horoyan's communication on the discussion of the proposed recreational cannabis dispensary at 112 Reservoir Avenue? Councilman Wall.
Thank you, Councilman Ferry. I do have a couple, and they're probably gonna be, for the Solicitor Videcchia. If you want to step up and. As you said before, right now, there isn't a cannabis dispensary, a retail dispensary going on 112 Reservoir Avenue. This is speculative. But-
There are no retail establishments going anywhere right now.
So, but going forward, it passed in 2022. This is going to come into our city, so I have a couple of questions. And they're more hypothetical, but if I recall, in late December, we did pass an ordinance, a city ordinance, that would limit these type of businesses to the industrial areas, the M1, and if I get the call letters wrong, I apologize, the M1 and the M2 areas. And if I'm also not mistaken, I believe this retail is a C1 designation in our zoning. Is that what this area would be? I'm not 100% sure what the retail is. So hypothetically, should this even be considered in our city? Because it would be wasting time. It violates the city ordinance.
Well, Councilman, I do have a legal opinion about that, as do some of my fellow solicitors, because this has been discussed before. I'm going to try and answer your question without publicly revealing, what our strategy would be and what our thoughts are about that. But you raise a good point. And what I can say to you is that we did adopt an ordinance back in December, and the ordinance contained certain zoning restrictions. And the state law is mindful of that. There's a section under the Cannabis Act, which is entitled Local Control, which gives a fairly decent amount of authority to the local municipality to regulate retail sales of marijuana. Now, it's not carte blanche. There, you can regulate up to the point that you do not conflict with the state law. So a comparison needs to be drawn between the provisions in the state law and the provisions, the proposed provisions in the municipal scheme. Now, the best way I can answer that is to say that in order to get this process going, once regulations are adopted by the Cannabis Commission, any proposed applicant will have to submit their application to the state. That's the first step. The city has absolutely nothing to do with that. And one of the many factors that they are going to look at. Now, again, being mindful, they still haven't enacted their regulations, which are going to be in addition to what is already contained in the state law. And one of those factors is whether or not the premises, not only applicant, but the premises qualify for the license, meaning, is there a problem with zoning? So the state is going to, what's going to happen is once they receive the application, they're going to review it. They are not going to make a decision. What they're going to do is send it back to the city or town where the application is made for commentary. So at that point, the city will have an opportunity to review the application. It will review all of the information contained therein, including location. At that time, the city will be free, if appropriate, to either object or approve the application after applying its own ordinances, regulations, and provisions. So there is a layer of protection here that's built in, okay? So it's definitely going to be reviewed by the city before the license can be granted.
I don't want to interrupt, but when you said the city will have an opportunity to approve, and that sounds good, specifically, which body in the city, which group in the city? Is it the mayor's office, is it the solicitor's office, the planning department? Is it the city council, the safety services committee? That's a big question.
I would, Director Pizzullo, why don't you come
Okay,
up, sir?
at this time, the Director of Planning is here, and I would like to let him speak on this matter. Thank you.
John, I think that, I'm not sure if you were completely in the loop of what happened in December, January on this application. City had the ordinance in place to be heard late in December. A complete application by this group to do the retail cannabis came in prior to the enactment of that ordinance, came in just prior to that. So the question was, what do we do with it? What do we do with this application? Problem that I faced in planning with this application was that the building department had already issued a zoning certificate for this use at this site, that this was retail. It was retail. They were going to treat it like retail. So that's how the city moved forward with this. They had already started processing the building permit. We took this to the Development Plan Review Commission, not the Planning Commission. Development Plan Review Committee. We heard a pre-application of this in December. We decided to take jurisdiction of the application because I felt it was a change of use. That was not a popular opinion. So we took jurisdiction and we heard the full application in January. on the retail sales at this location, it was vested with the previous ordinance. Previous ordinance said industrial. That's, and we're talking about a number of days where they were vested and when that ordinance passed. And I consulted with the solicitors, I consulted with Steve Marcella and Chris Millay and everybody else dealing with this, and they said, we have to process it as a retail establishment despite it being cannabis. That's, this was about six months ago, so I'm, trying to get the details here. I have all of my documents here. So in January, we did hear the preliminary plan approval of this, and, notices were sent out. Folks here saying they didn't get the notice. A lot of them live outside of those notification radii. You're outside of the 200-foot notification radius. That's why many people who said they didn't get the notice wouldn't have gotten the notice, because it's outside of the 200-foot radius. So we heard this application, and again, it was communicated to me that we didn't really have much of a choice to process this through the normal avenue as a retail operation. So it was approved in January. It was the final plan was recorded in April. So I don't know.
Ma'am, you're not allowed to, I'm sorry.
And this is only because I think John doesn't work directly with the DPRC committee. So I'm just, filling in the gaps here that this did get heard, this did get approved, and it was recorded back in April. So there was a number of conditions on the plan. They met those. Plan went on record. So everything you've also described, I believe, is true as well, is that this is going to be the state ultimately deciding on whether or not this location is going to meet their standards. I don't know what those are. I really have no idea. But if this application were to come in today, it would not be heard, because it's only allowed in the industrial zones, period. Very similar to the medical side of things. This came in, treated as a retail operation, and treating it as taking jurisdiction of something like this. I felt it was more of an impact than the Pizza Hut. The applicants didn't agree with me, but I felt that it was more of an impact. So we heard it, and we had deliberation. I think everyone else has seen the minutes and the deliberation that went on during that meeting. Pretty lengthy, for DPRC standards. So that's just to clarify. This was consulted with the rest of the soliciting team, that we had to process it under the vesting of the regulations.
If I may, Councilman Wall, I want to respond to that, but well, I thank you, Director, for that information. And as I said, there was a meeting which I attended way back when, and the point is, I think there could be a misconception or mischaracterization of what should have taken place. The reason for the initial application and the decision that was ultimately made with regard to the application you referred to is because at that time, the General Assembly decreed that cannabis sales would be treated the same as any other retail sale. That's my understanding. So again, my further understanding was that the applicants in this situation at 1112 Reservoir Avenue thought that if they could get an application in for retail sales, that we could not deny them. And at the time, that was true in terms of retail sales. However, my position is that everything you say may very well have happened. The question is the legal import of what was done, because in my opinion, only the state has the authority, only the state can grant a retail cannabis license, not the planning board, not this council, not the mayor, not anyone, only the state. I think what we did 6 months ago was no more than to say, you're applying for a retail sales license. You want to call it marijuana, you want to call it Cumberland Farms, you want to call it something else, that's fine. In my opinion, it has no legal import whatsoever because I don't believe the city has the legal authority at that time to say, we're going to approve you for a cannabis retail license. We simply did not have the authority. We still don't. Only the state does. So I don't want to get too much deeper into this and delve deeper into this because this does raise, there are several legal issues that this, can potentially raise. And I know there are people out there, I'm sure the applicants may be watching this, and I certainly don't want to give away any type of legal strategy or any type of legal thinking. But I do thank you for that information. I was aware. I just have a different interpretation of what took place then. That's all. Thank you.
Attorney Angel.
I'm going to suggest to the committee, Mr. Chairman, that you hold an executive session on this with respect to the legal issues involved. I can see where the applicant is going to argue vesting, but you can't vest yourself, in my view, in a retail sales license that doesn't yet exist as being authorized by the state. And with all due respect, and I'm not going to point out the cases, there's one in particular that I'm very familiar with. And so is Mr. Videcchia from 25 or so years ago. We should talk about it in executive session. So I'm not going to get into what was processed or not processed or any of that. I mean, that is what it is. But going forward, how can you vest in a framework to have retail sales of cannabis when the General Assembly hasn't spoken on the issue right down to the extent that there's an application process? I mean, for heaven's sakes, I just think they appointed the executive director a couple of weeks ago. The ink isn't even dry. There's no application even for the state commission.
Yeah, I think, and just to just expand on that a bit, I think we at the time acted in good faith because we did not have a referendum issue, as did East Greenwich. The General Assembly gave that discretion to the various towns and cities. For whatever reason, I don't have the answer, but a referendum could have been presented to the citizens. They could have voted up or down on that. In the absence of the referendum, we were basically wide open, meaning that there was no regulatory scheme whatsoever. So we, the mayor proposed and the council ultimately passed the current ordinance that we have now. And we were doing that, as I said, we were doing that sort of in the dark, sort of in the blind, because as Attorney Angel just said, we have been waiting now probably the better part of a year and a half, maybe 2 years, for regulations to be published. So we have some direction. I could tell you now that our ordinance is definitely going to have to be amended at some point in the future once these regulations come out. But everything that took place up to now, including what Director Pizzullo was alluding to, was simply to try and, get ahead of the curve a little bit so that we weren't completely helpless, so to speak. We had to act somehow. So we could not refuse someone who said, I want a retail sales license. As I said, you want to call it marijuana, call it whatever you want, but we don't have the authority to give you a marijuana license, a retail sales marijuana license. So, but then again, we couldn't turn them away. So we were kind of in a quandary. So we did the best we could, but there was a long way to go with this, a long way, many steps ahead. And as I said, the state is going to have the final say with this. Councilwoman Horayan mentioned about the geographic zones, and there will be 4 licenses given in each geographic zone. But out of those 4 licenses, one of them is an equity type of license, which is much different from straight retail. Another one is a co-op, which is different. So you're basically talking between 3 cities 2 retail establishment licenses. And my understanding, at least what I was told 6 months ago, was that that was going to be determined by lottery. So you can see why I said it's extremely speculative, regardless of what, you know, the planning board did back in December and January. This is literally hitting the number. You have to hope that your application and your number is called. And as I said, the odds are there are going to be 2 licenses between North Kingstown, Warwick, and Cranston. So the odds of something going there, I mean, under the best of circumstances, very remote.
Council President Marino.
Thank you, Councilman Ferry. I want to thank Councilman Haroyan for bringing this agenda item up. I first heard of this just a couple of weeks ago as well from residents in that area, which was a surprise to me that this was going on. And you did a good job speaking this evening about how this took place as part of the Development Plan Review Committee, which is not the council. And I can tell you that what the council did do is everything within its power and ability before the law took effect in January 1st, which was to put protections in similar to what we have, similar to liquor stores as a council. And I recall at that time, the solicitors advised us to hold off for about a month because they needed to look into the legality of it. The solicitor did a great job in looking into the legality of it, of where things stood with the state. And we were advised in December that the DBR, meaning the State Department of Business Regulations, did not yet put into place regulations relative to retail cannabis facilities. And we as a council had a choice. We could enact an ordinance that gave local protections that we best saw fit, or we could kick the can. And I know I was one of those council members that was very vocal that evening that it was imperative that we pass an ordinance before January 1st so that we had protections in place. And it was then, if the state later on in 2024, when they come out with the regulations, if there is some discrepancy, then we would address it at that time. In other words, if state law somehow preempted what we did locally. But other than that, we have some protections in place. I appreciate the solicitor's explanation this evening and concur that, you know, further discussions, if need be, relative to this legal aspect, should be an executive session. And I'm shocked at some of the things I heard. Thanks.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Manzulli.
Thank you, Chairman. I also wanted to note, just for some of the concerns that were brought up tonight, about a year prior to passing the most recent marijuana ordinance, we did pass an ordinance that will alleviate some of the concerns that people had regarding restricting the use in public spaces, which would be considered your sidewalk, your streets, walkways, alleys. In the city of Cranston, it addresses consuming marijuana while operating or occupying a motor vehicle as a passenger. So you, just like with liquor, that's the same thing, if that can alleviate some of those concerns. I know someone mentioned people staying and sitting in their cars. So that was already passed a year prior to that. I just wanted to also ask Director Pizzullo, just for my own knowledge, what brings something like this to development plan review versus planning? What's the difference?
Biggest difference would be scale. Projects of this size, and this was interpreted through the Building and Zoning Office as a use allowed, and uses like that would be, commercial uses would go to the Development Plan Review Committee, not the Plan Commission. Plan Commission would see commercial projects over 50,000 square feet. This is much, much less than that, so.
And does it have I'm sure it has its own requirements, but for traffic studies, parking spaces, well, I see some information about parking spaces within the minutes. Do they have to do a traffic study like the neighbors have concerns about, or no?
It depends on the scale of the project. There was some traffic analysis that was done on this. It's at the discretion of the committee how far they want to go with these different aspects. You know, DPR was chosen because I felt that it was a change of use, and that's one of the trigger points to take jurisdiction. Felt that the pizza place converting to the cannabis was a significant change of use. And so they voted to take jurisdiction, and then you know, we took a look at it. Again, these are projects that you've seen that range from, you know, hundreds of thousands of square feet down to something like, you know, a small commercial establishment. Something like that is not going to trigger a full-blown traffic analysis, full-blown traffic study. And that was the determination at the time of Public Works.
Thank you, Director.
Councilman Wall.
The director just brought up a pretty interesting point in my mind, and he spoke about the size of the project and, you know, the size of the retail operation. And you know, as we think of guidelines going forward, shouldn't the sensitivity of this business itself, what side of the aisle you are on cannabis sales, it has passed since 2022, but given the sensitivity of this issue, you can hear from the public come in and speak, shouldn't something like that come before an elected body, a legislative body? And I'll probably ask the solicitor, how do we make it like something like that happen? Not that it's a small store, but this is sensitive material we're selling in areas where maybe a lot of neighbors don't want it. How do we make that type of thing happen so we don't put you in that situation, Director?
Well, to answer your first question, the public did have an opportunity to be heard at the state level. You know, that's when you're supposed to go and voice your opinions, so on and so forth. In terms of a particular group like this in a particular location, well, as I said before, there are going to be certain safeguards that are built in. I just think at this juncture here, it's premature. I mean, I understand their concern, but I think we may be getting a little ahead of ourselves at this point. There will be opportunity going forward to weigh in on this because, as I said, I anticipate that our ordinance is going to need a lot of fine tuning. And so again, the built-in protections, we had the planning proceeding, which was open to the public. We had the ordinance in December, which was open to public comment. And of course, the ultimate arbiters of this are our state senators and our state representatives, and ultimately the governor who signs it into law. You know, it trickles down from there. So there were several opportunities to be heard, maybe not, you know, the way you want to be heard. I mean, but the law that we live under simply says an opportunity to be heard. And they were given that opportunity, at least up to this point. But going forward, I think they should be reassured there will be more opportunities and there will be more safeguards going forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I did have something that I'd like to say. And I think what the main concern is that if for some miracle the state were to make a decision within 2 weeks and issue them a license, would we be allowing them to go to that location? I think that's the real question here. Would that be able to happen if the state were to all of a sudden just say, okay, you can have a license?
Well, the state isn't exactly going to do that. What the state is going to do is simply notify the city that the application is complete. It's then going to be sent back here for comment. And as I said before, objection, approval, there will be input from the city. So it's not like once it goes to the state, it's lost and it's gone forever. It's coming back here. So that's the added layer of protection.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Haroyan, are you finished? Thank you very much for bringing that forward. At this time, I would like a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
John, you're gonna give us 5 minutes? I gotta go to the car.
Going to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call to order the June Finance Committee meeting. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry, Councilwoman Haroyan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas, Councilman Wall,
Here.
Council Vice President Vargas, Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Council President Marino.
Present.
Clerk, please let the record reflect Councilman Ferry is here. He just stepped out of the room momentarily. At this time, we'll take a motion on the minutes of the May 6th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take a roll.
Councilwoman Haroyan,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
All right, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to take the docket out of order.
Motion to take the agenda out of order.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take a roll.
Councilwoman Haroyan, Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
All right, at this time, I'm going to open it up to any public comment for any docketed matters this evening. Are there any members of the public in person that wish to speak? Seeing none. Tom, is there anyone online?
There is no public comment.
At this time, we'll close public comment. We're going to go to new matters before the committee. Ordinance 5/2401, ordinance authorizing the city to utilize Eastern Cranston police impact fees and Western Cranston impact fees towards police rent. This is sponsored by myself.
Motion to approve.
This item is to mirror what we did in the budget, which is take Eastern and Western police impact fees, apply those to the rent. That frees up just short of $16,000, which we were able to move to other line items. There were some communications earlier today regarding this. Is there any, Council President?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Donegan. If I could, if we could, just take a brief, very brief recess, maybe only 2 minutes. I'd like to confer with the solicitor and, you as well as the finance chair relative to a question that came up with the clerk that was sent via email today. So if we could do that,
We are in recess.
thanks.
Tom, if you could. Okay, thank you. We are coming out of recess. If I could ask for the motion to approve to be withdrawn.
Withdraw my motion to approve.
I'd ask for a motion to continue to the special finance committee meeting on July 13th.
Motion to continue until the 13th
Through the
of July.
chair. June, yeah.
To June 13th. I already,
Motion to continue until the June 13th meeting.
do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you. I keep wanting to think I'm already on summer break and I've got about 8 days left to go. So I keep thinking July, not yet.
Who's counting?
The reason for that is, an issue was brought up relative to the notification. It's been 3 days, whereas I believe it has to be 5 days. So out of an abundance of caution, this will be re-advertised, and we will take this up on the June 13th meeting. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take up a roll on the motion to continue.
Casper Ferry,
I'm going to abstain. I have no idea what we're voting on. I was not in the room.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Casper Wall,
Yes.
Casper Capelli abstain. You don't know. Councilman Donegan, Council President Marino.
Yes.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion on real estate tax abatements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we'll entertain a motion on motor vehicle tax abatements.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None opposed. The tax assessment board review for December 31st, 2022. This is for informational purposes, but there are none listed. Next, we have tax interest waiver approvals.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Lastly, we have tax interest waiver denials. Entertain a
Motion to
mo-
approve.
Is there any discussion?
Through the chair, there are no denials.
Going back to the committee business that was carried over, Director Zadelis, the liability policy, where do we stand on that?
Mr. Chairman, as I believe I stated 2 meetings ago, we were trying to obtain 2 additional quotes, but what I also believe I stated that this would not be part of the FY 25 budget submission, would be a mid-year. So what we're doing is independent of, or in addition to getting the quotes, which we're still working on, some of the coverages cannot be replicated. We're sitting with departments that will benefit from the trust proposal to the city. One of the biggest beneficiaries is in our public safety. That meetings are going to occur this week about what policies we want in a general liability. So like I said, because the quote contained certain provisions which were already under contract, most specifically, the building insurance has been rolled into the general liability. We're not advancing this until probably it will be a December, January proposal. So we'll get you something to go to, I believe it's Claims Committee, well in advance, but we're not prepared to make a recommendation at the moment.
A recommendation somewhere by the end of the year?
A recommendation with departmental buy-ins before September. And the second thing is going to be a decision on the trust proposal is predicated on us not bidding this, which I'm not a fan of, bidding anything. Matter of fact, I like to bid more things in the city. So that's one of the discussions. Do we bid this out, see what the free market will bear for a cost? One thing I will say that in the proposal, should the city decide to leave, there's an actual buyout clause in the trust. So if it's not working in our favor and we want to take a different path to a different provider, we would have to pay out, which is something I am totally adverse to. And it's the first time I'm saying that, but that's one of the things, even if we do, if it looks like we are going to pursue a general liability policy, that will be one of the things I am just adamant of, not pursuing for the city. It's just, you live and die on, your proposal. If you wanted to switch your insurance, coverage, your insurance policy, you're not going to pay a provider. So that's one of the things I am adamant we're not going to entertain.
Thank you, Director. Did any other members have any discussion on that? Okay. Lastly, I wanted to hold this till last in the event that Council Vice President was able to get here. I do see that Director Tasalia is here, so I do want, we can move forward with Council Vice President's items that were coming from the Public Works Committee. So Director Tasalia, the status of playground that we have approved funding for?
Chairman Donegan, can I just mention some for the record? Council Vice President Vargas got caught up with a work emergency. That's why she's not here as of yet and isn't sure if she'll make it. Just for the record, thanks.
Thank you, Council President.
Good evening, council people. First, I just want to start by where we are with what has been completed. I think you're aware that Florida Park and Khaleesi have been done. That was not done with the resolution money, but those playgrounds have been addressed. They are up and going. Edgewood Highlands is complete. The components are complete. I talked to Pro Built Designs today. He is the contractor. He expects it either late this week that the poured in place rubber person will come in and finish that job for him. So hopefully next week is when he told me. I spoke with him last week and also today. Smith Street is complete. We did not want to open it yet. We're waiting on rubber mats that were back ordered for the swings to prevent the swinging of the engineered wood fiber that gets worn away and then they go down into the dirt. So that playground is also ready to go. Those mats are due in again also next week. The next two playgrounds, the next playground on target to use, but before I get to that, engineered wood fiber, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, was distributed to all playgrounds addressed on the resolution from December. And that went pretty smooth. We did it in a timely fashion. We get the school schedules and get around to do it. Garden City will be the next one we address. I met with Director Corso and we're trying to figure out a plan on the best time to excavate that rubber surfacing. We've ordered pots for Garden City through Landscape Structures. And we think it's the best time to do that is when that school is out. I'm going to talk to them again, to John again. It's all a matter of freeing his crew up to help keep the cost of that playground down with the Highway Department, who's been more than helpful anytime we have asked them to help us to get that playground done. Other items on the resolution, but first I must also say that we put in bid waivers for all three playground manufacturers, companies, Compan, Big Toy, which is now Landscape Structures in Big Toy, and makes it easier for us to order pots and just draw right from them rather than making out bid waivers. Some parts may be 1,600, so rather than keep doing bid waivers and or getting permission for each of those, it's a much easier and it should be a better timing system by using that way. I can run down the playgrounds we've addressed, the 14 of them. We have done work at most of them, all of them. Again, we're out there all the time. Unfortunately, I don't have an inspector to go around. I do it, my assistant will do it, my foreman will do it, and some of the gentlemen on the playground. We'll go out there, let me know, hear it from constituents, school people, to know what's going on. So I'm just going to run through a few of the things we have done. And we have ordered pots. We've ordered pots for a few of the playgrounds that I'm going to list. We continue to identify and get those pots and get them up and going in a timely fashion. I must say that none of the pots of anything I addressed, I was around again today, do I see a major hazard other than the ones we know about that, the flooring at Garden City, which we're going to address. But even some of the parts, we've put caps on, extended screws and bolts. We've ordered coverings for the brackets that go on the bottom, and some of the names, I mean, you wouldn't know what I was talking about because I use different names. Sometimes I call it a spin toy, call it a spike toy. And, identifying it is some of the hardest things. So I'm just going to try to run down a list of 14 or 15 playgrounds identified, excluding the ones we did. Edgewood Highlands, I discussed. Smith, I discussed. Florida Sevo, which Florida Park and Khaleesi was discussed. Garden City is going to be targeted to be replaced. So I'll move down to Woodridge. Playground pots have been ordered for Woodridge. Delivery date is not determined. We ordered approximately $4,500 from the resolution fund for that particular playground. And they will be installed upon delivery. We've replaced the zip line there And again, this is just, I call it general maintenance, but should be noted, we replaced the swing, the chains and attachments there. Hope Highlands is the next one. We removed and replaced the Weeble Wobble. Cut back 5 foot of brush from the playground perimeter. Inspecting and maintenance and adjustments to various playground parts. That's done at just about every playground when we can. Again, we go, you pull on things, you tug things, you try to see sometimes if you get there and the kids are in the school, we'll stay outside. I just try to look at them in action and see, what they're doing. Anything else at Hope Island? The cement slide footing was installed. Those are a common thing that breaks. Sometimes they break just at the hook. Sometimes that footing becomes enlarged and we have to dig, make a new footing and put that in. Triple slide connection was also adjusted at Hope Highlands. And I'm gonna bring someone out there. I don't think it's defective. If it is, then they're hitting an order. That's a 3-bay slide and we can replace that. At Stonehill, the epicenter was adjusted to operate. The finger hazard was addressed. There was a little small finger hazard. Would it happen? Probably not, but could it happen? Yes. And that was addressed. The track ride bumper was replaced. And the drainages are up there every time it rains. The mulch just gets washed away. So I had met up there with engineer Bernardo and John Corso from Highway. And we've just decided that when school is out, we're going to go there during or after a storm, although we've already done that, and see what's underneath there. And is there a way to put some kind of basin or a drain or some kind of large Flint drain to alleviate that so the mulch won't just keep washing out. The kids that go around the playground are constantly just raking that mulch back, which they do to every playground upon maintenance. It's called regrading, and it always moves around. We try to get it, take it away from the areas that's not needed. If it's underneath the swing where no one is going down there, and just regrade the area. At Stonehill, was there anything else there? No, we also talked about a possible wall there to direct the water. And again, that would probably be done, if time permits, by Highway. But again, hopefully the drain is the way we're going to address that. At the Peters School, the spin toy was adjusted and secured to the ground. Again, it's that hooking device that latches into the ground. Replaced the chains for swings. Couple handles for the monkey bars were stabilized, and the seats and the sideboards are to be installed. There are some on order, but that is not a hazard. The existing sideboards we had, one is like, it's a plastic piece. It's not the actual piece that goes on, but it was something that we rigged up and put there to secure that toy. At Waterman, the caps are added to exposed playground parts. Anytime there's screws out, the jagged edges or rough edges, we try to either cap them or control them with the proper maintenance stuff that the playgrounds recommend. At Waterman, again, we kept a lot of those bolts, nuts and bolts, secured all the S-hooks. The arch climber was secured and adjusted. And again, these are things that we could do them today and it could happen again in a week or two. I mean, if you see the kids on playgrounds, they're pretty aggressive. And in talking to some of my guys and going around to the playgrounds, I see that the parks that were built in 95, 96, I think it's roads, those components are unreal. So I don't know if it's the way they're building things now. I mean, secure wise and stable wise. And there's another one I just can't think off the top of my head that's older, but seems to be, well, if you even look at Garden City, those components in that park and that's a 20-something-year-old playground. And it's put together pretty good. At Arlington, brackets were ordered to reinforce a spin toy, but it's not a hazard. I was there today. It is secure. Could it pop tomorrow? It will loosen before it pops, and we will see that before that happens. The rope climber was adjusted, swing replacement, footing for the spin toys was secured into the ground. Again, these were all minor. It sounds like it's a lot, but it's something you have to stay on to prevent any kind of major injury. At the stadium school, I was there today. Swing change and attachments were replaced. That was a while ago. The arch climber was secured and adjusted. Sometimes they move out of shape, they move out of whack. If a piece moves, there's finger hazards for the kids. So that's the stuff we've been trying to check on regularly. I mean, at the road schools, we replaced and secured the swings. And like I said earlier, the parts are in very good shape. And again, most of the next ones, the next playgrounds, Rhodes, Eden Park, Orchard Farms, we made minor adjustments, looked at all the swings, ace hooks, but they're in decent condition. There's no hazards at anyone that I was aware of. I am not a playground inspector, so I don't know what they would find. They may find a screw that's out too much, where to me it looks all right, and that's where caps come in just to prevent any unwanted injuries. Glen Hills is a little different. We have a drainage problem there also. And again, I met with John and Richard Bernardo, same situation there. We're gonna look to see if we can redirect the water with some kind of wall and/or, which seemed to be the better fit for that place, some kind of drain or a basin that the water could at least, get to, rather than just sit into the playground and make a pool and wash the engineered wood fiber away. And that, again, we're looking to do when school is out. At Dew Temple, the arch climber was repaired. Graffiti removal, we removed graffiti at numerous playgrounds that I previously mentioned. Punchard Playground unit was repaired. There is a unit at Stonehill that we have to get up. It's not a hazard. I was up there a week or so ago. It's a slight strip in one of the slides. And rather than buy a whole new $4,000 triple bay slide, I think there's going to be a product. Someone recommended something to me. I'm just trying to see if it'll work, where we could just almost rub it in and make it secure and then sand it down. That might be the best fix for Stonehill. And Oak Lawn, again, in pretty good shape. We've tightened some parts there. There was a swivel pole that we had to secure. Again, that's one of the biggest things that happen at these playgrounds. All those chained units that you see going in the grounds eventually will pop out. And again, if we're not there every day, which obviously we can't go to every playground every day, that's when we need to hear what needs to be done. Moving down the line, Oak Hill, adjusted the cargo net. The slide detached footing again, and pretty much the equipment is stable and secure. Beachmont, Doric, Spec, and Chester Barrows, all minor stuff. At Chester Barrows, there's a protruding fence that was curling up and inward. We brought that back into the ground. There was hazarded branches hanging over. We've got rid of them. And again, playground equipment, when checked, it all seems to be up and ready. And basically, if there's any other questions about any specific playground, I'll see if I can answer it off the top of my head or refer to notes.
How about the tables and the benches? at
Tables and
Dew
the
Temple
benches.
That
Once
wooden,
once we get done, I do have an idea for that. We're gonna try to do that in-house, but quite frankly, Chrissy, this time, these guys are out cutting a lot, and I will try to get someone there. There's one at Doric, I believe, there's one at Peters, I believe, and it's the corners of them. And I'm gonna go there, in the near future and just see how time-consuming as it is to grind them down at least and put a coat of paint on them.
Chairman Trafficante had maybe suggested that it might be something that the laborer school could do as a
That's a
project.
great idea. I'd love to meet with them. I could, and maybe that's something we could set up, and that'll take something off our plate and keep everyone happy.
Are there any other questions or comments for the director? Director, thank you. And just if you have what you provided to us verbally, if you have that in writing, or notes that you wanted to share with council, I did my best to try and take down notes,
Okay.
as I know
I
my
can get
neighbor
that
right
to you.
here
I'll
was
just
as
type it
well.
out. I got it scribbled down. I write pretty neat, but it's better if you see it typed.
All right.
Thank you.
If you want to send it to me and Councilwoman Vargas, then we can
Sure.
distribute it
Thank
at the next meeting. Thank you. And for the record, for anyone that's watching online, we are still in the Finance Committee meeting, running a little bit behind. Next, under Council Vice President's communications is Eatery Park. How much has the city spent to date, including the cost amount paid to Al Engineering, Tower Construction, any overtime in DPW or city departments, if any, on this project? What is the total cost of this project? The total amount of money received from federal and state?
Mr. Chairman, let me take the funding from federal and the state that have been assigned to Petrie Park. First thing is approximately 30,000 of CDBG, which was assigned to AI engineering. AI engineering did the engineering work for both Petrie Park and phase 2 of the Knightsville project, but I originally had 291,000 of block grant assigned to Petrie Park. I am revising that estimate down to 30 and am going to assign the balance to phase 2. We also have a grant from Rhode Island DEM for 400,000, which was directly used to pay for Petrie Park costs. And Rhode Island Commerce Corp, we had $150,000 placemaking grant. On top of that, we have other grants that were applied for and allowed to be spent on Petrie Park and Knightsville Phase 2, which is the current streetscape, and that was $500,000 congressional earmarked. Relative to direct costs for Petrie Park, $1,442,420.78 is the direct construction cost with, I believe there were 2 change orders for the Petrie Park project, and the engineering for AI engineering directly for Petrie Park was approximately 50,000.
And I'm sorry, through the chair, can I just for clarification, I'm sorry, through the chair, Director Zdell, is the $50,000 for engineering, is that in addition to the 1,442,000 and change or separate from it?
Through the chair, that is in addition to the 1,442,000 that was paid to Tower Construction.
So the total cost is 1,492,000. That's how much the cost is for Petrie Park.
Approximately, I'm sorry, Council, could you repeat your?
1,492,000.
Yes, if my allocation of AI construction is correct, that's correct, Council.
Okay, and so we've received 30,000 from CBDG, 400,000 from DEM grant, 150,000 from Rhode Island Corp grant, and 500,000 congressional grant. So that's 650, 1.05. So
through the chair, Council, if I didn't explain the 500,000, the 500,000 was awarded for both. It has been assigned to phase 2. So in terms of your calculation, the way I explained it, do not count that towards this, but we did receive that grant that could have been used for Petrie Park. It has been assigned to phase 2, sir. So if I can just, in terms of the funding sources, it is 30,000 from CDBG, 400,000 from Rhode Island DEM, 150 from Rhode Island Commerce Corp have been directly assigned and used to balance out. The balance came from the city. So to the Council President's point, you take the 1,490,000 minus the 580, and the balance is city funded.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you. Missed this, but I remember Mark, where does that?
That I have no record on that 10,000. I can track that back, what, the speaker's check went for.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
To the
Chair, Council President, and then Councilman Ferry.
Right, thank you. Just a little helpful hint. I believe at the time that money was allocated for the gazebo replacement for Tree Park, so you might, when you look into it. My question is, the figures that you gave us this evening, the 1,492,000 and change minus the 580,000 that's been paid for by outside money, with the balance being paid for by the city for Tree Park alone. My question is it done? Or are there other costs relative to Tree Park that are to be incurred? And I say that because it's hard as you drive by and you see with the sidewalks, whether or not that's impacting the park itself, whether or not there are sprinklers in there, et cetera. And these are questions that constituents have asked.
Through the chair to the council president, to the best of my knowledge, the contract with Tower has no other obligations against it. So I can double check with the acting director of DPW. In terms of the question you posed about sidewalks, I don't know if the original scope had the sidewalks as part of the E-Tree or the sidewalks as part of the Phase 2 streetscape project. So I can follow up on that one, but to the best of my knowledge, all of our obligations to tower construction arising from the E-Tree Park project have been satisfied.
Councilman Ferry.
To the chair, director. So I'm rounding it off. That Tree Park costs $920,000. Rounding it off.
Through the chair to the counselor, cost the city $910,000.
So where did the $910,000 come from?
Through the chair, a portion of it came from a loan authorization that was, I think it was authorized in 22, 23. And a portion of it came from loans in turn, which were, I believe, infrastructure loans for in the 23, 24 capital budget.
So we borrowed $912,420 to build a park.
Through the
Do you
chair.
have an estimate of what the actual cost is going to be once we pay back the loans?
Through the chair, we use money that was already borrowed. I don't know what interest rate that they were borrowed for. You know, the borrowing preceded my tenure, but I can get those interest rates and get you a cost.
So it's $912,420 plus interest.
That, through the chair to the council, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Council Vice President.
Thank you, Chairman. If I could first be added as being present, and second, was the answer already, was the question answered in terms of any overtime in DPW? If not, I can always just go defer back to the video later tomorrow, tonight or tomorrow on this.
That was not addressed yet.
Okay.
Through the chair, we did not, there is no overtime costs that have been of city employees assigned to this project.
Thank you. So all of that was just done, between work hours, and if we contracted out, it was obviously on the.
Through the chair, no overtime was assigned to this
Thank you.
project.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on Eatery Park? Okay, Council Vice President, the last item, and we can connect offline about the playground line item or the playground item. What was the date of the change in the outdoor dining plan? Council Vice President, if you want to.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you. Yes, this is actually to the administration as well, particularly to this item. Just curious, what was the date of the change of the outdoor dining plan? There was an article that mentioned that there was an outdoor plan that was changed,
Hey,
and it fell around relatively to like the outdoor planning, the outdoor dining. And I could probably provide you with a little bit more. I'll be honest with you. I put that on there, and then I wrote it on my MacBook in terms of what was the question and what was the question, and the reason why I was asking it. I can actually email you.
through the chair to
I
the
didn't bring my
counselor
laptop with
is,
me today.
I went down a rabbit hole saying the authorization for outside dining, which arose from the pandemic and then was extended by the Great and General Court. So if I went down the wrong rabbit hole for this answer, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you could,
I will circle back because I don't want you going down the rabbit hole because I might not be able to save you, but otherwise, there might be somebody else who can elaborate on this. Again, I have my notes in my MacBook and I didn't bring it with me, but through the chair, I think there might be another council person that may be able to elaborate.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Council President Marino?
Thank you. I don't know if this is helpful or not. It was earlier this year that I believe the state law was changed to allow for outdoor dining, so that's why our executive order was no longer necessary. It just became a by right.
and if I may continue, that is also being continued another year. So that's, if that's what the counselor was looking for, yes, the statute was extended and is currently being extended an additional year.
There's a sunset provision. It's due to expire February 2025. The General Assembly, there were two bills. There was one in the Senate, one in the House. I don't know if it went to a floor vote yet, but that's what the bill says.
Through the chair, if I may, just to piggyback then on that point. Is there an additional permit for those who are looking for outdoor dining? Is that what the legislation does? Is that what the bill does? And if not, we can follow up offline too. That's not a problem.
We can enact, I'm not certain that we have an ordinance requiring or a fee for outdoor dining. In fact, the legislation is pretty much limits what a council can enact. You can't forbid it. They have to be able to operate at the same hours that their license allows. About the only thing you can do is limit capacity. And that's about it. So but according to the clerk, we don't have a application process or a fee.
Okay, but so do we keep track in terms of the administration or the clerk's office of restaurants that are doing outdoor dining, or is it as they come before us in the Safety Service Committee that we would know? Like, is there data to figure out how many restaurants do outdoor dining?
Well, the outdoor dining, due to the pandemic, was just done administratively. They would provide some kind of a plan of where the seating's going to be, and we would just do it administratively. We haven't had any recent ones, but we can come up with probably like maybe 12, if that. There aren't that many.
Okay, I may be just, the way I was thinking was like, there's some cities where people take outdoor dining and they take 2-3 parking spots, right? And then they're on the actual road. I didn't know if there was any restaurants to do that or if we charge extra or not. I'm fine. I just wasn't sure. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other business before the Finance Committee this evening, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned.
All right.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, June 3rd, 2024 special ordinance meeting. Through the clerk, can I please have a roll call?
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes, present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Councilman Ferry,
Here.
Councilwoman Mazzulli, Councilwoman Haroyan,
Present.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Council President Marino.
Present.
I believe we need a roll call to go into executive session. I may be incorrect, but please correct me. Bye. All right, can I please have a motion to convene an executive?
So
session?
moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, through the clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haroyan. Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
All right, we'll be meeting across in the
Motion to adjourn? No. I'm
Seal the
sorry.
minutes, seal the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me know when we're back. We're good? All right, thank you. So no votes were taken in an executive session. That being said, I think we need a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion? None? Through the clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Councilman Renzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Great, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
second.
All right, discussion? No, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, I have it. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.